So last week I set out to do the Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge, and I failed that challenge. But in that failure, I discovered more about myself than I have in years. So just to put things in a little bit of context, this was my first time ever going away on my own. It was a group of complete strangers. The setup is organised by a company called Adventure Solos. So the idea being it's people who are single in their 30s, 40s and 50s who get together for whatever activity. This one happened to be the Yorkshire Three Peaks, which is also one of the toughest challenges going. The idea being you do the Three Peaks within 12 hours. So you're out the door at 7 o'clock in the morning and you've got till 7 o'clock in the evening or thereabouts to do the challenge. So I wanted to see how far I could push myself, take myself out of my comfort zone, physically and mentally. And it turned out to be a metaphor for the last 4 years of my life. So it was really, really nerve-wracking for me. And we got there on the Friday night and everyone's in the same boat. So we all met, started to get on, made tea, got some social time together, which was really, really good. And then got prepped for the morning. We had to be out the door for 7 o'clock on the walk. So, yeah, it was exciting, but also really terrifying. So the first peak, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll put it, the caption up of it. It started off okay, fairly decent, incline, fairly good pace. Everyone's all cracking on. And I could already feel myself feeling a little bit of pressure. I was in the middle of the group, and I think sometimes when you do these things, you feel like you have to, well, I do anyway, I feel like I have to keep a pace up and you feel like you've got a bit of pressure maybe from behind, which wasn't there, but consciously, or subconsciously, that's what I was feeling. And then we were looking at the peak, and the guide, one of the chaps with us, Luke, was like, oh yeah, you can see where the zigzag is on and it was like, okay, that looks quite steep. And then we got there. My God, I can only describe it as if anyone's watched Lord of the Rings, in I think it's Return of the King, when Frodo, Sam and Gollum are at the gates of Minas Tirith. Sorry, it's Minas Morgul. Oh my God. Kill myself, nerd. When they're at the gates of Minas Morgul and they go up the stairs and they're like that. And that's what it felt like for me. It was really, really tough. I was really struggling with my balance and my strength in my legs. I was getting really frustrated with myself, and I could feel myself almost going, that's it, I'm done, I'm giving up. But Luke was really, really good, kept pushing. We were a lot conscious, we were a long way behind the main group as well. It was literally just me and Luke, so long, long way behind. So we got to the top, and then we sort of started to talk about what our options might be, whether we keep going, etc., etc. But we wanted to get to the first rest spot. So we had 2 rest spots set out with a support vehicle. And we caught up with the main group before we hit the first rest spot, which was incredible. So, the proof of that I've got a good level of fitness in me was great on the slopes and the flat. So that was really, really encouraging to see. I caught up with the group because they were a long way ahead of us. And then, we had the discussion was, we had a rest. Okay, what are we going to do about this second peak? Because I think Luke was really conscious that the top of it is really, really hard. I said, look, let's go. Let's go. And 10 minutes in, I was like, I can't do it. Just the steps at the base of the peak there and moving up through some of the rocks, just my foot placement was just nowhere where it needed to be. And it would have been a real risk going up there. So I made the decision, said, no, it's not happening. So we chose to come back down, and we went along some of the Pennine Way around the bottom of, again, I can't remember the name of the peak, around the bottom of the peak, around the base. And then we caught up with the group at the second rest spot a few hours later. So bearing in mind, this was what, about 3:30 in the afternoon. So we've been walking since 7 o'clock in the morning with a 20-minute break. I think we did something in the region of about 28 kilometres. So it was still a substantial walk. But when we got to that second rest spot, I knew at that point that I couldn't carry on. I just couldn't continue. So the option was always there that with the support guys that I can get a lift back to the property. And that's what I chose to do. And it was absolutely the right decision. It was a tough decision to make because I set out on the weekend to do the challenge. But I found where my spot was, where my comfort zone was. And I knew that I didn't have it in me. So I couldn't do it. So I went back to the place, started getting tea prepped, all that good stuff. That was really, really good. And then everyone started coming back about 7 o'clock in the evening. And it was really nice to actually be there to welcome them back. And, you know, everyone started getting the showers. We started getting tea ready. Drinks started to flow. And Chris, the guy, came out and gave me a bottle of Prosecco because of the challenge, and, you know, helping with tea and all that, which was really, really good. I had to give a speech, which I'm not normally given to, giving speeches. And it was really good. The group bonded really well as well. And there was a lot of, I think a lot of the time we worry an awful lot about what other people are thinking and what other people's perspective is. But the reality is everyone was in their own zone. Everyone was fighting their own fight. And no one was critical of me or felt like, oh, you know, he's holding us back, whatever. The group were incredibly supportive of each other, because it was a hard thing to do. And it was fantastic. The evening went really, really well. I got a compliment, which is not something I'm used to. So as I welcomed one of the groups, like one of the girls there, one of the women there was like, "Oh, you look nice," and I was like, "Oh, thanks very much." And we got on really well, and, you know, made a suggestion that we should keep in touch and maybe go for a couple of walks, because she lives fairly local to where I am in the northwest. And North Wales is not far away for either of us, so it's an easy option for us to sort of like maybe catch up and go for a little walk, you know, which that was nice. And I think it reinforced I was me. That was it. I was me, which is something I don't think I really felt I've been able to do for a long time. So the weekend, I suppose, in reflection, wasn't always about finishing the 3 peaks, although that was the challenge. It was proving to myself that I can go away on my own, set myself a challenge, meet new people, bond with new people, and ultimately make decisions through the process of the weekend and the challenge as they came up. And that journey of, you know, pain and suffering to joy of catching and then making the real rational decision that I couldn't carry on. And that's been a real growth point for me for that weekend. And, you know, when things get tough, whether that comes about, you can trust people. There are people that, if you are surrounded by people of like mind, that you can trust and you can put your trust in. That's the big thing I took away from that. So if you are rebuilding after a divorce or a loss, find your own first peak and push yourself. Even if you don't complete the challenge, whatever it is, believe me, you'll find things about yourself that you had no idea that were there and that will surprise you. If you've done something like this, or you're thinking about it, let's talk about it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. Speak to you soon.